So I shall start from beginning with my beautiful voice and not with really screaming. I'm joking, so I'm sorry. Drage študentke in spoštovani študentje, dragi gostje, profesorice, profesori, lovely to see you again in the conference hall. After the very successful morning session, we shall begin with the afternoon one, which should be calm and dynamic at the same time. It is lovely to see also our friend, I should say like this. She will be our first contributor of the afternoon session, and I am really delighted and happy to say hello to Lynn Elvins, always with us. Always be welcome. Lynn, please.
Thank you very much. And I think do I need to do something here, Domen, to get my slides on? Oh, he's doing that bit. So I'll say hello. Yes, my name is Lynn Elvins, and thank you, Nada, again for inviting me. Yet again, I'm always very happy to come back to Ljubljana and work with you as students and companies. And it's lovely to see some familiar faces and some new faces, as always. So I'm going to do a short presentation. I'm aware that my title here is different to that which is written in the program, so forgive me, but the themes in the program of human-centered design, sustainable design will come in the content, so that should be fine. And also as well, after this short presentation, I'm afraid I do have to go to a meeting quite quickly, so I won't be able to stay today, but I am here all week for various workshops, so I hope to see you then, and I welcome more conversations with all of you. Right, I work as a design manager, and one of the reasons I'm here this week is because I will be working with some of the companies on DMS, Design Management Slovenia, and that's what I specialize in, really, is working mostly with smaller companies. So the idea that design in companies like Apple or Lego, yes, that's great. They have all the money and all the resources. But all of those principles that they use do work for small businesses. And then I go in and talk to them. And these are the types of materials that I use with small companies. And some of you familiar with design management will recognize them. So I go in, I do design audits. I check what design a company is already using and what maybe they're looking at or they've got questions on working on already. I talk to them about, again, the very good Design Management Europe staircase and where they might be on that staircase. Talk about design thinking as a way to generate new ideas and to take new ideas into testable kind of prototypes and take that forward. And also design process, the double diamond that originally came out of the UK Design Council, but many designers use this, again, to show how a design project moves from the early stages of research into a defined delivery stage for businesses. And for me, in terms of other materials, I've got a little booklets that I write, that I give out. It's full of articles. It's got lovely lists in it. This is all about showing how the creative, artistic world of design can be applied to business in very structured ways, in very clear ways, with lots of stages, so that business people don't necessarily get scared of those things or think that design isn't for them. And design is very much for business. The sorts of issues that I address with companies, they're very varied, but design works well in lots of different ways. So we are in a very changing world. That means that business markets are changing. Businesses are negotiating change. Design is excellent for dealing with that, particularly with design thinking. Some companies are very good at ideas, but again, taking them through a process to turn them into a tangible product, a tangible brand, a tangible service. They're maybe not so good at that when designers are. Most companies, again, focused on sales to stay alive. To get the lifeblood of the income into the business. And often it's competitive out there. So how are they standing out with their competition? And that is clearly, again, a big focus for brands to make companies unique and to communicate them clearly and all of these things. And then lastly, our first kind of little touch on sustainable design. So lots of companies are saying, yes, how do I engage with this green agenda? How do I be more environmentally friendly? How do we look at the product? How do we look at the service, the energy, the materials, the packaging, all of these things? And I love all of that because sustainable design is where I started. It's been around for a long time. I think it's very important. So I really like it when businesses come to me with those kind of discussions. And of course, here on the right, this is a figure that comes, again, a few years ago, again, from the UK Design Council. But this is a return on investment figure from small companies. So this, again, this is not Apple, this is not Lego, this is small businesses that use design effectively, with people like myself helping them to do that. They became more design-led. And so the return on investment, which is what companies like, is fantastic. Design-led businesses, they make more profit, they engage better with their customers, and they get to market quicker because of things like prototyping ability. And I love all of this. I love it a lot. I've been doing it for a lot of years. I like talking to small businesses. This is all fantastic. But I get worried and I get concerned that I'm not sure sometimes that those conversations are enough. We have a lot of bigger questions to ask ourselves. And these ones have been in my head for quite some time, and I've been trying to work out, how do I have this conversation whilst also holding a commercial business conversation? So if we start with the money, design is great, it makes money, but I have to question, but where's that money going? For what? How is it being moved around? Are we asking those questions? Do I check that enough with my clients when I work with them? Again, if we're working for clients, it's usually the client that comes with the problem. We want to be more competitive. We want to have a better position. They get to say the problem. And I question here, it's like, is that the right problems? Do we always let them set the problems? Should we always let the client set the problems? They're usually paying my bill, which is back to money. It's one of the reasons why I'm there to listen to them. But I'm finding these questions are becoming more important and more urgent. Again, in terms of human-centered, the majority of commercial situations, the humans that we're talking about are customers. So we say user-centered or human-centered, we're really saying customer-centered. So do we only deal with humans when they're customers? What if we do that, then who are we missing? Who maybe is having engagements in the world that isn't about an exchange of money? Again, is that right? Maybe there's new opportunities over there. And last as well, I say environmental, green, fantastic. But if we're just reducing products, or we're changing materials, or we're changing the packaging, is that enough? Does that actually going to solve the problems that we have environmentally, when I think probably we should be saying not just making a little bit less harm on the environment, we should be replenishing, regenerating nature. And I think I would argue now this is where I think we maybe need to go beyond human-centered, even if we're talking human rather than customer. But even beyond human, I think we should be nature-centered as designers, because that is the system that we ultimately sit on. So all of these things are on my mind, and this is where I've created quite recently a new set of materials, which I'm hoping that you can see straight away. They're quite different to my other set of materials. It's now not these sort of neat boxes. It's not a set of tools that I can very easily go in and say, don't worry, I can help you through this. I can guide you through this. These posters really are there to reflect that there is a lot of stuff, a lot of questions, and I certainly don't have the answers. But I want to have these conversations. And this is another reason why, again, this set of materials is posters. So they're large format posters, which I just felt was a more appropriate format. Because I think posters like this should be on the walls of all design studios. we should have a physical and visual reminder that these bigger issues are the context in which we design all the time, because it's very easy to forget. And I say that for myself as well. It's very easy for me to get focused in a project, and it's hard to kind of come up and actually step in and maybe take responsibility and change the conversation to something bigger. It's not easy, and I'm not going to say that I know exactly how to do that all the time. But it's with a visual poster, the other point as well is with them in the room or with them in a discussion, and something then that people can gather around as a group kind of format, a large format. The important thing to me is it's the conversations in rooms like this. So it's not about fixed tools. It's just this openness of saying, what do we do? And it's very nitty, and it's very confusing sometimes, and it doesn't have the clarity. I don't have that. But for me as well, the big title of these posters is then, the question is, how is design serving life? Not how do I make design work for you? How do we all get designed? And I think this is where we need to focus. But to give you an example, there is some structure within each poster. So one example, again, I'll focus on the money one still, because it's such a sort of prudent discussion and good discussion, interesting one. So money is the title of this one. And as you can see, each poster has a large question. And this one the question is, how much is enough? Not how much can we make? Not how much income do you want to generate? We're always looking at money like more growth, innovation. And again, I talk that language with businesses. It's important to be able to talk that language. But I think we need to start saying, actually, where does it stop? How much is enough, and how do we change our potential attitude towards those discussions about the economy? And then the very blunt question for us all as designers, and again, for myself as well, and we need to be blunt with each other. Because if design is only there to make rich people richer, well, then we are perpetuating inequality. That's what we're doing. Again, I include myself. I'm not sitting here judging any of you, but we are participating in that. We need to have that conversation. And each of the posters is also visualized, and I didn't do the graphic design. I work with a fantastic design team in the UK that I've worked with before, who helped interpret these with me. But I've got a range of tools, of propositions on each one that I've brought into the discussion. Some of them are design tools. So in the nature one, circular design, obviously that's a fantastic tool to use, so that's in there. But most of them are from outside of design, because again, we need to be careful that we don't just stay inside design tools. We need to look further. So the three that are used on the money poster, first of all, is pulling on the UBS Global Wealth Report. And this report is the one, and here we have the 1% of the population globally that own the 45% of the wealth. And they do this, they measure this each year. That's not sustainable. That's not sustainable design. If we're helping that, if we're supporting that, that isn't sustainable design. Sustainability is not just an environmental agenda. The diverse economies iceberg, which is down here on the right, again, is a different way of looking at the economy, and recognizing as well that when we talk about the economy, we mostly talk about commercial money. We talk about the wages that we earn when we work. That's a very important number for us all. We talk about the goods and services that get exchanged in commercial exchanges. And the larger companies out there, their profits go to shareholders. So we talk about shareholder profit. They are the dominant voices in our economic system. And we live in consumer-led economies. But there are other types of economies out there. And this is where this model highlights them. And actually, there are a lot of other ways of, again, making money, generating money, moving money around. It happens in lots of different ways in our societies and communities. So that raises that one. And then the vicious cycle of wealth and accumulation is by a fantastic lady called Iris Brilliant, which is just the loveliest name. And she works with very wealthy people. And she has developed a system whereby she shows those people, and having worked with lots of them, they are not getting happier. The more money you have, the more you use money to solve your problems in life. And what she has shown is that then what happens is wealthy people become disconnected from community, from neighborhoods, because increasingly, again, they get stuck then in this cycle and they become increasingly disconnected. And this is where they start to become unhappy, not more happy. So again, we have a problem there. Quite how we resolve that, I don't know, but other people are talking about these things. And I think it's important that designers do. And then each poster then has a set of questions. So if you move closer up to them, if they're on the wall, you can get some other things to think about. So the first one on the money one is, again, let's know where money goes. We should ask our clients, what is your economic structure? I'm not asking designers to become economists or accountants, but it's reasonable to ask about the money. I'm going to help you make more money. Where's it going to go? I'd like to kind of know. Let's think about that. That's a reasonable question. And I think we should be asking it. Who is gaining in all of those? Again, coming back to the iceberg, valuing different types of economic activity. So we don't always have to work for commercial clients. They are often the ones that pay us, and we do need to be paid. You all deserve to get paid a salary and for your creative talents, and paid well for what you do. But there are other organisations out there, cooperative organisations. There are neighbourhoods. There is the public sector that has a different models of working. There are lots of others. And I think we should ask again, who am I working for? And what am I helping them to do? And then lastly, which is quite a personal one, but again, I think it's okay to have these discussions with clients. I mean, each of us potentially, what's enough? What's enough for me? What's enough for you? As a young graduate, what is enough money? How much do you need? It changes in life and everyone has a different sense of it. But if we did get given enough, what would we do if we had extra? Again, where would it go? Is it just because a bigger car, a better house, more of those things? Or is there other things that people can do? And these are questions that wealthy people are asking themselves of how they redistribute their money and what they want to do, given some of the issues that we've got going on. So all of this, is part of the questioning that I want to do. But again, I kind of feel, and I've been grappling with these myself, it's like, Lynn, how can I raise questions about money and then still go back in a room and work with commercial people and talk about profits and all of the design management stuff that is already out there and that I love. And this is where, again, I don't think these conversations are separated. They are connected. But you do have to separate them out because they are two different types of conversation. And if you try and have these conversations about the more ethical, responsible things, once you're in a project, it's actually very difficult to try and make the project, if you like, go backwards. It's too hard. And I've tried that many times myself because I love these big discussions. But once you're in a project, you have to work with the project, with the brief, with the job that you've got. And as we say sometimes, that train has left the station and then you have to sort of decide. But these bigger ones, I believe, have to be had first. So we have to make space for them. But they lead into lots of opportunities, and the opportunities are still there for companies. Absolutely. This is a very vibrant area. It's not an anti-money or anti-business discussion at all. We need companies to come into this space. And actually, I get to work with lots of businesses who have already done this thinking and are doing this thinking. And the big companies absolutely have teams who are working in this area and looking at it because it is essential. So I would like to bring those conversations a little bit more into smaller companies who don't always have a lot of time or, again, a lot of as much flexibility or resources. So these are why I've kind of developed this, this framework of questions. And this is also why I've called it a pre-design framework, because I think it needs to happen first. We need to explore it first so that we can actually then use that to scope the projects that come out of those discussions and then bring in all of the traditional tools that continue to work and continue to remain very, very viable. And I would argue again, this is because if we want to create sustainable futures, then that's the end that we need to start with, and we need to make time for it. And I say the materials that I'm kind of offering are a open invitation, if you like, to any of you to hopefully engage in some of those conversations, and to see how this sort of very much more uncomfortable, unstructured, more chaotic space, how we get that to work in terms of turning it into projects. And that really comes from the premise as well that if you're designing, you're creating change. Design always has an environmental impact. It always affects people, and it always moves money in some way. So we do have to unpack those. And I say, I think it's important to unpack those first before we then commit to a project, so that those projects can be done more in the name of creating sustainable futures. Thank you very much for listening. And I look forward to conversations the rest of this week with you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Lynn. We are all impressed. Thank you. That was fantastic. Yes, we are looking forward to see you in the rest of the week. Thank you so very much. And now, dear students, the dearest first row, we will continue with the second contribution, which will be delivered by Assistant Professor Arbresha Ibrahimi, International Balkan University, North Macedonia. I expect a very vivid and dynamic presentation.
Thank you again, and I'm very sorry that you need to hear me like 5 times during this week. So yeah, because I'm not only as a representative of International Balkan University, but also from a young design circle, from World Design Organization. That is why I have a little bit more agenda here this week. Yeah, it's one part of me is working with a World Design Organization. It's totally more focused on how we can improve the design. And another thing that is my professional context is how to regenerate urban zones and having in mind the identity of the city, which is very important for us. So today I will talk a little bit more about the designing inclusive spaces for the roots and the problems that we have in Skopje especially. Unfortunately, the government of Skopje do not know how to use the culture that we have. We are multicultural. We have a different nationalities. We have different community with a different faith, and also we have a different community according to their own profession. This makes the huge potential of the Macedonia to be very integrated. But unfortunately, instead of this, our government is focusing more on division in historical context, in political context, in social context. And that makes Skopje, even the North Macedonia, to have a huge crisis in identities. This is reflected in urbanism also. It's not reflected only in the daily communication that we have. So our population, which is more North Macedonians, Albanians, other minorities like Turks people and so on. We have different religion like Christian, Orthodox, Muslims, atheists, and so on. And also we have different political and management minority groups that all of us want to be reflected and to be shown in Macedonia. In our community, it's we have a lack of belonging. So I have done my PhD here in Ljubljana, and believe me or not, I think that I feel that I belong more to Slovenia rather than to North Macedonia. So somehow it's very disappointed because I live there, I'm born there, and to feel like I'm not being part of Macedonia community, it's very hard, like it's very hard to live. This is a reflection of them all different activities that happen to North Macedonia. First of all, we have a two scenario of where it started the city of Skopje. So one is the city of Skopje, and another one is the castle in a main city of center. We have different historical historical movement. So it started with the Dardania, Romans, Byzantine, Bulgarian, Serbian, Ottoman period, Kingdom of Serbia, Safaria, after that independent from Macedonia, and then changing the name Republic of North Macedonia. So all this political and historical impact have influenced even the development of urban city of the Skopje. Unfortunately, even the development of infrastructure make us somehow the Skopje to be divided. And we divided the Skopje into upper part of River Vardar and the lower part. So here mostly of the community are Albanian and Turk, and the other part are mostly Macedonian. This division even is represented through the buildings of the religion buildings. And if we see the mostly upper part, we have a mosque, and the lower part, we have churches. So somehow our community is used these buildings, social buildings, religion buildings, for division, physical division of the Skopje, which is very sad. But as a young generation, I don't think that I need to focus on those national mindset. We need, as a young designer, we have this voice to change the world. Yeah, I know the physical, I cannot change the Skopje immediately, but through a discussion and different projects and different ideas, I can make a small step. So according even to my own nature, that I want to make a bridges to 2 or 3 project or community or people, I started with analyzing of the historical and political context of the Skopje. So yeah, we have a lot of influences of Ottoman period. We have also the post-war. So we have like a new traditional way to make the new identity of the city of Skopje. It's a attempt. And after that, after the earthquake that we had in 1963, we have the project of Kenzotanga, which unfortunately wasn't successful because one thing, because they didn't take into consideration the diversity of population inside the Skopje. So unfortunately, we have just part of this project built, and then it's like that. Now we have another problem with those buildings because are metastasis of our urban development. And then post-Yugoslavia nationalism, which is another political strategy to somehow assimilate this diversity that we have in Skopje. So yeah, according to this information, we have very fragmented city in a different ways, not just in visually. We have a fragmented city even with different activities. And as you can see, we don't have even one link between beginning of the city till the end of the city, somehow to have a strategy and vision for the future development. And even the most attractive touristic part of the city of Skopje, they are separated. Somehow they are not linked, not because they are far away, but because they have this nationalism division inside. So, okay, yeah, we live in this way, but how I can change? The first strategy, it was discussed in my dissertation, but this is another strategy. So the first one was focused on how museums I use as a tool for generation of the urban identity. And the second one is how to connect with the people, with the heritage that we have inside the Skopje. So by analyzing the community, by talking with the community, I find a lot of places, urban places, that they use a lot. So somehow we don't mention them in a literary review, but we mention during discussion. And what I find is that we have here a most old part of the urban development of the Skopje. This is the city of the Skopje, and this is a part of city, which is Debarmalo. Another, there are Ottoman period, like a historical development of the city. And we have also other, like universities and more attractive archaeological zones. So if we combine these buildings, these zones, with a public urban design, we'll regenerate each space according to their needs. So we don't have any kind of strategy like rules by rules, and we will improve the design of the city of Skopje. But the idea is to find all the mini pieces between these buildings that can generate communication between the community that lives there. that can generate institutional work between one institution with another institution, and especially to use those urban places between them, which are very small, but they can generate communication between each other. So we don't need to focus always on some industrial products. What we need to focus on how to connect people, because the strategy of the urban development, it's not the design itself, it is the people communication. So we make the urbanism. We don't make urbanism by roads or by buildings or by anything else. We made urbanization of one city according to communication that we have between us. So inclusivity urban design can help bridge ethical and religions division that we have in Skopje. And also all the strategy of creating mini regeneration urban spaces will create a different vision and a different development of the city itself. So for the further step of this project, it's to identify all the urban places that we have in this zone of city of Skopje and how we can regenerate them according to the inclusive design and human-centered design. So thank you very much for your attention. And of course, I'm very happy to discuss this presentation even further in your own perspective. Thank you again.
Hvala lepa. Thank you so very much. I think we are having such a wonderful time here. Yeah, and our Dean, Nada, is also very satisfied, right? Yeah.
Speaking about urban design, not urbanization, but urban design, and I'm only very much interested is there on your interior design department, engineering, also the projects from urban design. Do you have pedagogical subjects on this thing?
Are you talking about today's presentation or just in general?
About urban design, not urbanization.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm not an interior design specialist. I'm also architect as them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but the question is very good. And afterwards, we will have some debate on this topic as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Nada, we will have some space for questions and debate. And you are more than right, of course. But I should also stress some words which are also very important because, you know, I like words. And, well, I'm literally translator as well, not from Macedonian and not from English, but discussion, conversation, dialogue, and no to divisions. I like these concepts very much. So thank you so very much. And we are really keen on listening more of your presentations during this week. And now the last presentation, the last contribution for this afternoon session, which will be delivered by senior lecturer Tjaša Čakš. She's coming from Faculty of Design, Slovenia. Tjaša, dobrodošli. Izvolite.
Hello, super. Hello from my side. I'm Tjaša. You, I guess, already know me. So I'm an architect and senior lecturer at Faculty of Design. And in today's presentation, I will present students' project titled Future Nest: Sustainable Coexistence with Nature. That Erasmus and Slovenian students did during this last semester at the subject NEP Studio. So some theoretical basis you already know from the last meeting. And yeah, now I will present the final project and how it ended up. So as you already know, the task for students that were enrolled in this subject was to design a conceptual design of sustainable village of tiny houses with urban equipment. So not just actually urban design, but also interior design, architecture, and also visual identity of the brand because we had a lot of different group of students at the end. So the location was based at Ljubljana, Ljubljana Marsh, that is a very important and significant environment area in cultural and historical and also natural sense. So, as you already know, the project was designed with the mind of sustainability and how we would actually maybe also try to save the problem that we have in Slovenia with housing rents. So the project was more based like a alternative form of different variants of living, according also that we coexist with nature. So with some theoretical bases that were more architectural based, so we were designing a tiny house, and as it is written here, in architecture, a capsule refers to a compact spatial structure characterized by 5 main characteristics that were outlined by Professor Peter Schenk in his book. So it is a self, it is an envelope, so it is a building, a capsule. And we should understand it as that. It also needs to have a comfort within the interior and needs to connect interior and exterior for well-being of inhabitants of this place. It needs to have a structural function and visual integrity, and it also needs to be designed in the way that can be changed over time. And of course, it needs to be in a small size, allowing for mobility. Also here, I would like to point out maybe one point. We all know that maybe small spaces can be claustrophobic, and maybe some people don't feel good in small spaces. But yeah, also this project pointed out that maybe connecting people with nature could have a good impact also on their inner well-being. So students, as you already saw the reference, were first presented with some references from architecture. The first one is from Slovenia. What I wanted to point out here, as we already know the concept of tiny houses, is that this is a singular model or one functional unit in the nature that functions like that and functions like a shelter for hikers who go in the mountains in Slovenia. But tiny houses don't need to be just like that, but they can overgrow in a more complex structure like a building, and like we can see on this example here from Tokyo. And what I would like to point out at this reference is that this is actually the first architectural capsule architecture that had this vision about sustainability in mind. So these models were designed in this sense that after they are not in a good shape, they can be changed very easily. But yeah, like I pointed out also in October, this architecture was sadly demolished in 2022. So also students were presented with two concepts of how maybe future generations would like to live. So maybe more in a futuristic way or more community-based environment. The end result, like I can mention now, was more forward the scholarship, so more about community building with some futuristic, of course, elements, because students of urban product design had this feeling for it, although I was not very happy about it because it's not something that I feel connected to it. So this is the final form of the village. They also needed to find the location for their settlement. As you can see, it is shaped in a water drop, because it symbolizes the importance of water for Ljubljana Marsh. And also they wanted to design the village according to the location. You can also see here down below that actually the location itself gave them the instructions how should they design the village. As you can see, there are multiple different spaces in this village, like different parks and marketplace, and houses are distributed in the village in a circular shape, but we will see that a little bit later on. Here are some examples how the students of product design designed the urban equipment. You can see different recycle bins, lightnings, market stalls, and so on. And in the middle, there was a fountain slash statue that was structured in the tree shape, and it served like a water collecting system, and it was also a symbol of the village self-sustainability. They designed 4 different types of houses for different groups of people. So for elderly, single people, young couples, and families, but families not only the traditional form of families, but also single parents who maybe after divorcing their partner struggle with not only housing but also raising children. According to that, they decided so that also this project will be more community-based, because with their designs, they tried to achieve that people who would live there would feel more connected with each other. The shape of the house came out of this triangular form that it was very specific for the houses of first inhabitants on Ljubljana Marsh, and they actually, this form, they modernized it. So here you can see the plans and some materials that were used for the architecture of this house. So they use cross-laminated timber for structure. That is a very popular material right now for building houses in Slovenia. And they designed the facade with curtain that also has a historical connection back to the Ljubljana Marsh. And they tried to incorporate some of green elements on the structure with green roofs. So you can see that intentionally they were given a model, and they needed to design the interior space on whatever conditions they wanted, also spatial relationships and so on. Also, they were allowed to decide where the windows will be, and so on. So the idea of this house was also a little bit, I helped them with that, because yeah, they are not architects. But yeah, we also thought about how it would be constructed. So here are the projects. The first one is made by student Rani from Belgium. She designed a house for an elderly named Laurent. You can see, so in this case, that she designed also a lot of flexible furniture, and she used a lot of recycled materials in the space, like terrazzo top and moss wall covering. The next example is the same for an elderly woman named Carmel, and she also used recycled materials like Rani in her project, with different furniture, adaptable furniture, and different spatial scenarios. The next example is Tiny House Nevenka, designed by Slovenian students. This was a house for a young couple. And as you can see, we also were more focusing at this project that they really thought about how they would change the space, how inhabitants could use the space in different scenarios. So if they're alone or if they have someone around, and also they try to incorporate the identities and needs of their customer in the project. The next example is Skriška, a tiny house for a family. So this group had a lot of problems because there were only 50 square meters of the house, and I think they managed to come up with really good solutions, spatial solutions that they really used every square meter of the house. The next example is a tiny house A.L.I.C.E for a single woman that likes that is a really free spirit. You can see that the student used a lot of recycled wood and tiles in the project, and also that the outside of the houses looked more like the same, and they look really modular. And the last project that was focused more on interior design is the tiny house Vodna Dusha for a single male that is also a free spirit. She used a lot of wood in the design of the house with adaptable kitchen that was in black color. As I mentioned, we also had a lot of students from visual communications enrolled in this class, and they designed the visual identity of the project that is called Vonida, that you know from where this word comes from. So it's voda, like water in Slovenian, and ni is a synonym for tiny, like it's a small house. They also designed a lot of promotional materials like gardening tools because of the community self-sufficiency, and they wanted to produce their promotional materials out of recycled paper from Japanese knivit that is actually an alienated species on Ljubljana Marsh. Thank you, that's it. If you want to know about the project, you can also look at the website that the students developed.
Thank you so very much, Tjasa, and thank you for all your efforts. That was very interesting. And now, drage študentke, dragi študenti, dear students, everybody, this is the space for your questions, observations, and debate. We started before with the question of our dean, Nada. She asked our colleague from Macedonia if they have urban design and not urbanization.
Thank you very much, Blažka. I already got a question, got an answer, haven't I? But I think we added new subjects to our interior design department because we think that there is no interior without exterior, and we can speak about houses or private places, but at the same time, if you are speaking about urban spaces around all factories or business facilities and so on, we see that it is really very important, but also not only exterior, but also visual communications. So I think interdisciplinary projects are urgent in this time, and we train on our faculty of design not only architecture of space, urban design, especially on second level, but also visual communication with UX design, fashion and textile, and design management is the most important thing if we want to sell something, if we want to deal with our knowledge, if we want to deal with our projects. And therefore I am not only very satisfied, but I'm really very happy that Faculty of Design is for the second time partner of Design Management Slovenia Competence Center for Design Management. So we can learn what design management is, not only companies, but also communication with young talents, which are now sitting here in this room, and with every talent, not only on our faculty, but everywhere. It's time for crazy ideas. It's time for sustainable movement, and for talents who are not exactly fixed on that, how should I say, workplaces in some offices or studios or everywhere. But that what I see on Faculty of Design, they gather interdisciplinary and they're establishing their own companies or small studios. And I think it is the best way to develop yourself, your way of thinking, design thinking, of course, and how to deal with clients. Thank you, Blaszka.
Thank you, Nada. You were talking about developing yourself and you were talking about the crazy ideas. But still, I would like, if I may, ask you a question. Where do you think your crazy ideas that we all expect from you, young talents, like our dean says, where do they crazy ideas come from? Yes, I'm asking the students because I believe in, sorry, I'm old school, I know. I believe in knowledge in a broad perspective of life. Not only studying one thing, but knowing a lot. Interdisciplinarity was that what our dean said. So do you maybe have a question? Where do you expect your crazy ideas that we all expect from you will come from? Aprisha, what do you say? Maybe a kind of, because I'm sure you were thinking about this already.
Yeah, it's like my part of daily thinking. So first of all, we have those knowledge like in universities from different professors, from different collaboration and stuff like that. But from the other side, we are facing like a young designers with a with a client, with a community. And if we don't have that interdisciplinary context, we are struggling so much to share our crazy ideas because we don't have that kind of believing, self-belief to improve and to somehow to raise our voice for what is best. In my period, we didn't have this free community of discussion, but now it's totally different. So we can discuss during this type of conferences. We have a lot of competitions. We have a lot of things that you can share your own crazy ideas without struggling if these ideas will be accepted from the society or not. Because even this judgment, it's somehow frustrating us for a future, even for the career development. So, and when we have this freedom of thinking crazy, we somehow stuck in something because we need to find those crazy ideas from within. So it's not with we will go out and we will find crazy things. Yeah. Neither if we read a lot that we will find crazy things. No, it's not like that. We need to believe what we want. during that process of what we want, discover our own self, what we want, how to achieve, asking those questions that even Lean was explaining very well, then we will come with that crazy ideas. Otherwise, we'll have just a copy paste of something, which is not for now. We don't need that type. Yeah, no. We don't know. We don't want. We don't need those stuffs. So what we need is to express our own selves in different contexts. Thanks.
That was really wonderful question, because you know what I'm wondering? Sometimes I hear everybody's saying, be creative. But I ask myself, be creative where from? Where is this? Yeah, I am just provoking.
Thank you. So I think that especially young people and students are very creative and they have crazy ideas. The problem is that maybe they're a bit frightened to share them. So I think that it's our job to encourage them to share their ideas, because maybe they think, this is maybe too much. Maybe I don't have to do, I have to go with the classical way. I have to think what the others want. I have to think what the investor would want, what the client would want. And maybe they're a bit scared to share these ideas because young people have a lot of ideas. And this brainstorming should be encouraged by us. Maybe not all the ideas are good and suitable and acceptable, but even 1 from 10, if it is good, it will be great. So I think it's more our job to encourage them to share the ideas.
Of course. Thank you, Maria, and now your colleague, yes.
Thank you so much. I would like to tell you about my story when I was writing my master thesis, because Maria was my mentor and I was so afraid to open up about my thesis because it was a very specific subject, and I knew like most of my professor were not very open to this kind of topics and such. So when I opened up myself to her, and she was very forthcoming and welcoming. So it's very up to the person you're talking to. So that all depends as well. Because many people, we are being influenced by the design teaching techniques and such. When you present an idea, you think almost immediately they're gonna be like, oh, that's not going to work. Oh, that's not nice. So we kind of, close ourselves and limit ourselves with the current, let's say, technologies that we have and thinking and so on and so on. So maybe we should be a bit more thinking outside the box. Thank you.
Outside the box and in dialogue.
Exactly.
Like we were saying all the time, communication, the words, again, we started with words. Maybe if you allow me, Nada, I have another question I have questions now for Dragan. Yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay, excuse me.
Working? Yes. There's another subject I think which is very important, and that is the interaction between the different kind of disciplines. If you are an architect or a designer or whatever, if you work with socialist, social psychologists, whatever, or creative persons, artists, everything that has a creative opinion about something, and you're going to connect that, then you get different solutions. If you are working only in one kind of discipline, like architecture, like design, you will always get the same kind of results. It is very useful instead of stepping out of those procedures and get something new inside, which is totally messing up every, how do you say, existing ideas. So I do that a lot. And the strange thing is, I wanted to add as well, that last year when I taught at the Master for Politecnico in Spatial Design, we had 2 clients. One was the Imola race circuit, and the other one was a fair. And what they asked us was how to connect the city to the fair and the race circuit again. Strangely enough, they went back to a social integration between the two. So then we started to think about other things, different kind of disciplines, but sociology, so how do you say that? Sociology and and design, beautiful things, and to think simply as a design thinker, how should it be? Not just thinking about how to resolve problems. What do you want it to be? What is your fantasy about how things should actually become, and then let them totally free. And then without any technical kind of restrictions, just start off and then see what happens.
Maybe if you allow me just one more question for Dragan, because we were told many times that crazy ideas and poetry is I don't agree with it, but maybe it is like, it is taught in the middle schools and primary schools that crazy ideas and poetry are born from not having really the best conditions in the world. If you are sad, if you are like in some I don't know the word, constraint, you know, then stiska. How do you say stiska in English? Suffer, maybe. Thank you. If you suffer, then you create. You are probably in Macedonia also thought like this, and now you're from Belgrade, and your students are in a special situation now. Do you think that this will provoke in them crazy ideas? Do you think that there's a potentially a field for something creative as well? Because I think that the situation is quite critical.
Yes, the situation is critical, but I'm not sure whether that situation will provoke some new ideas, because also I also heard Blaszka, what you heard during middle school and elementary school. Yes, that was what teacher taught us.
That poet, good
yes,
poetry.
Yes, but I'm not sure in that interpretation, because we have a lot of different interpretation of art. For example, Plato says that there are some divine creatures who speak through the poet, or later on we had different theories, like in 18th and 19th century, with the concept of inspiration and some specific state of spirit, and later on we had also different interpretation. So it's really difficult to find what is how to find some kind of agreement, or on what actually art is and how art is developing, and because there are a lot of different interpretation and we have to consider it all. So maybe, to go to your question, so maybe this situation will provoke some new artistic ideas, but maybe it will not, because we never know. Also, I suppose that it was really hard to live in North Korea and Afghanistan, but I'm not sure that creativity finds some good place to grow there. So we will see.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting theme, and your answer was interesting. So I think that my question wasn't so stupid at all.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
it's a great question.
yeah.
It is, because
Yes, art theory. I like to listen to it. I'm from Fakulteta Filozofska, so I really like to hear these ideas. Yes, thank you, Dragan. So, any observation? Are you provoked to say something, students? Veronica, yes, of course. Okay, she has a question, Nada.
Yes, I have a question. I will just go back to presentations speaking about situation in Belgrade. It's not about that, but I was hoping, Arbresha, you could explain, are there any solutions then for Skopje? You said that maybe with architecture you could somehow tear down the boundaries of this strange situation, not having really having a great heritage but not knowing how to use it in a architectural sense. So are there any solutions even, or I know that this is not a simple question, but is anything possible?
Yeah, in general, we have a huge heritage, not only in a context of buildings, but also in history, in tradition, culture, and so on. So I, as an architect, I cannot find solution that will change everything immediately in Skopje. But I think that starting discussion for this type of heritage that we have, for this value culture that we have, maybe by talking we can change things. Because somehow, if we don't know each other, we put like a huge boundary between us, not because we like, but simply because we don't know. But starting conversation and seeing a Skopje from my own perspective, seeing Skopje from perspective of Nada or Maria or others, will help us to somehow rechange the mindset of viewing, of perception of the situation in Skopje. And I think that is the main thing that we need to start to do. And after that, we will see how will development, what type of strategy we will make. And of course, multidisciplinary approach, it's mandatory. Otherwise, we will not. We will be here when we are maybe more worse than we are.
Thank you, Arbresha. Veronica?
Already using the multidisciplinary approach now because we are very much connecting the design and all the presentations with the society, with the sociology, as you said. And I would really like to say to the students, maybe you can think by yourself with your designs, how would you like to be a problem solver? Do you have any products, any services, and in what aspect would they be connected with today's society challenges? So that also is one of the interesting questions. So maybe some of the students can answer that. I don't know that.
If it's allowed, I can share with you one mini project that we made. So when last year we had like a studio and wanted to make something very special, but special in which context? We thought a lot about this one. I'm addicted a little bit more to the people with a disability because I like them so much and they have full energy of positivity. And from the other side, we have students that still don't know how to deal with a real client. And together with Maria, we thought, okay, we can make some mini project. And we made a workshop. So our students from architecture, they needed to design dream houses of the kids with a disability. But because they are with a disability, they don't know very well to express their own selves, we invited psychological professors and also sociologists to help us to understand the kids with a disability. And we made one workshop. So the kids with a disability, they needed to draw their own houses with the help of the other people. And after that, we discussed all the visual representation in context, what they wanted to express through those elements. And then we took all the notes and we created 3D models of the houses. Then we invited the students with a disability to in exposition. Imagine they were very happy because we succeed to translate their needs or the ideas in our own tools that we have technical presentation. So with the mini steps, even those mini clients that we have, we can challenge ourselves. And yeah, as a professor told, in that case, we find it a lot of different solutions because we think in one way, but after we talked with the psychologists, they show different perspective. The sociologists, a totally different one. So yeah, this interdisciplinary connection in one project, I think that will be very fruitful for all the solutions. Thanks, Inge.
Thank you, Arbresha. So last call for your questions and last call for students, last call for catching this plane. So is it interesting?
Any questions?
No questions, but already changing the mindset. I hope so. But still, we'll be together the whole week, so there still be some chance to talk, which is very important, right? Conversation and talking. But lunch is also very important. So, because they say that with the empty stomach, no thinking. So, I'm inviting you all to have some lunch here in the City Museum. And thank you so very much for the morning and this afternoon session. And see you in the afternoon. I wish you very successful workshops. And see you tomorrow here in this conference room. Thank you so very much. Hvala lepa. Yes.